Hello students. Today we are going to begin with chapter 21, Neural Control and Coordination. Okay, as the name suggests that neural control and coordination means how the coordination is and control is done by the nervous system. So in this chapter we are going to study about the nervous system. Before we begin, first of all we should just know the terms. What is the meaning of coordination? Coordination means work together in an organized manner so that the effect of one work occurs on the other and the other can do it in a best possible manner. In our body also, all the different organs, they are working together so that the one complete system can function properly. In the same way, different organ systems, they work together so that the complete individual body work properly. So in this chapter, we'll discuss about how the nerves are responsible for maintaining the coordination among all the organ systems in our body. Because nerves provide signals or impulses, and these impulses are transferred to the other organ or organ system, and when these impulses are transferred, that means these carry the messages so that that particular organ can respond to it according to that. So here we are with the chapter. Just look at the board. Coordination is the process through which two or more organs interact and complement the function of one another. That means one organ, if it is functioning, then it is completing a part of the other organ and making the other organ to work properly. Next is integration. Integration is a process which makes two or more organs to work as a functional unit in harmony. Okay, so these are the two terms which are very important and related to the chapter. Now next here, see, in higher animals, two systems have been developed for the control, coordination and integration. That means in higher animals, there are two systems which are developed for the control, coordination and integration of the organism body. And these two systems are nervous system and endocrine system. Because nervous system used to carry the impulses, means the nerves, they carry the impulses from one body organ to the other body part, and hormones, or we say endocrine system work by secreting the or by releasing the hormones, and these hormones carry the messages from one, or we say from the side from where it is produced to the target side where the action is to be done. Okay, so now next is that nervous system provides nerves for neural coordination, nerve impulses, and endocrine system provide hormones or the chemicals for chemical coordination. So here we say that in human body or in animals, nervous system and endocrine system, they both work in a coordinate manner. As you know, in this chapter we are going to discuss about the neural system. Okay, so you just have a look. What is it, neural system? It is the control system of the body, consists of highly specialized cells called as neurons, or we call it as a nerve cells. So the system which comprises of neurons or nerve cell is called as the neural system. This in human body or in human neural system, okay, human neural system is divided into two, that is the central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system we also call it as CNS, central nervous system, and peripheral nervous system is called as PNS in short. Central nervous system, it consists of two, that is it consists of brain and spinal cord. Okay, and peripheral nervous system comprises of nerves, and these nerves are divided into two. First is the cranial nerves and the other is the spinal nerves. So what are the cranial nerves? Nerves arising from brain are called as cranial nerves, and nerves arising from spinal cord are called as spinal nerves. There are in all 10 pairs of cranial nerves and 31 pairs of spinal nerves in our body, and these spinal nerves and cranial nerves, they used to spread throughout the body and form the network and receives the impulses. So we'll continue with the central nervous system. Central nervous system. You all know about the central nervous system. That means it is the main controlling center of our body. Okay, so as you know, in the computer, okay, CPU role is there. You have seen CPU in computer. So the main role of CPU is, or we call it as the full form of CPU is Central Processing Unit. Means all the processing work is done in the CPU. In the same manner, the processing work is done in our brain, and brain is our CPU. Okay, so now just have a look over here. That central nervous system is the integrating and commanding center of the nervous system and consists of brain and spinal cord. That means it integrates, it collects all the information and it do the processing and then it do the commanding work. Then brain. Brain is the central information processing organ of our body and act as command and control system. It controls as well as it commands the different body parts also. Then where it is located. Actually you all know that it is located over here in the head region. And our head, we say it is made up of, or we call it as the skull. So in skull, brain is present, and the portion in which brain is located, that portion is called as the cranium. Okay, so here we say that it is the anterior most part of the central nervous system and located in the cranium of the skull. That means anterior most part of the central nervous system and located in the cranium of the skull. Okay, so that means it is located in the cranium. Cranium is a part of the skull. So it is meant for the protection of the brain, as brain is very delicate, so it requires to be protected. Any injury may lead to the death of the person. So a strong, hard and tough skull protects the brain from any kind of injury. Now we'll discuss further. So students, just now I told you that brain is protected by the cranium, the bony structure in which the brain was located or brain is located, and internally the brain is protected by 3 membranes. These membranes protect the tissues of the brain, or we call it as the nervous tissue of the brain, from external jerk or shock. So these 3 membranes are, have a look over here. First is the outermost membrane called as the dura mater. It is the outermost membrane, and being the outermost, that means it has to be protective in function. So it is tough, fibrous membrane and present on the inner side of the skull. That means this is connected, or it is in connection with the skull. So first outermost membrane is the dura mater, which is tough, fibrous and is in close contact with the skull. Second, or we call it as a middle membrane. Middle membrane is the arachnoid. It is very thin. It is a very thin layer. Third is the innermost membrane, which we call as a pia mater, and it is thin, very delicate and is in close contact with the brain tissue, or we call it as the nervous tissue of the brain. So these are the 3 membranes. First one is the dura mater, outermost, connected to the skull. It is tough and fibrous. Second is arachnoid. It is very thin, present in the middle. And third, the innermost, called as the pia mater, which is very thin, delicate and in contact with the brain tissue. So now you all know about these 3 layers. The main role of these 3 layers is to protect the brain from shock. Okay. Now the size of the brain. Okay. The brain weighs about, near about, we say the weight of the brain, weight of brain gram to 1400 gram. It weighs about 1200 gram to 1400 grams. And in brain, there about nearly, we say approximately 100 billions neurons are present in brain. 100 billions neurons are present in brain, which is meant for fast impulse transfer. So these we have just now studied about these three membranes or the protective layers of the brain. Now we'll continue with the topic. Now here we discuss about the structure of the brain. Okay, brain is divided into three regions called as the forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Now in this first we discuss about the forebrain. Forebrain consists of, one is the olfactory lobes and the other as the cerebrum. Olfactory lobes are the lobes or the area present in the brain which is meant for sense of smell. That means it is connected with the nostrils. The messages of smell goes and it is detected by the olfactory lobes. Then we talk about the cerebrum. Cerebrum is the largest part of the brain, and this cerebrum part is divided longitudinally into two halves. Each half is called as the left cerebral hemisphere and the other one is called as the right cerebral hemisphere. So we call them as the cerebral hemispheres, and according to their position they are called as left and right cerebral hemispheres. Now these two parts of the brain, though we call them as the parts of the brain, but still they are connected to each other through nerve fibers we call as myelinated fibers, and these fibers are called as corpus callosum. Now these fibers, they are termed as myelinated fibers. That means they have a coating of myelin sheath, means nerve fibers are there which have coating of myelin sheath. As you know that on wires there is a coating of rubber or plastic which prevent the connection or which prevent the electricity to or any other person or to have an electric shock. That means this insulation helps the wire to prevent the short circuit. Okay, this is done to prevent the short circuit. In the same way, nerves, or we say that the neurons, they are having a layer of myelin sheath which prevent the interconnection or the transfer of impulses from one neuron to the other through that area. There is a specified sequence of passage of impulses which you have studied earlier in your 10th standard, that dendrites receive the impulses, from dendrites the message or the impulses transfer to dendron, then cell body receives a message, from cell body axon is there which is meant for transfer of the impulses, then at the end nerve endings are present which are connected to the muscle, or the one nerve ending of one neuron is connected to the dendrites of the other neuron. So the axon part has a covering of myelin sheath and which act as an insulator so that the impulses does not skip away from between. Now just have a look over here at the board. Structure of brain, there are three parts: forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. First of all, forebrain, it consists of olfactory lobes present at the anterior part of the brain and is meant for sense of smell. Cerebrum, largest and is the most complex part. A deep cleft divides it longitudinally into two halves, that is the left and the right cerebral hemispheres, connected by large number of myelinated fibers, means the left cerebral hemisphere and the right part. The left brain and the right brain, they are connected to each other through myelinated fibers called as corpus callosum. So these myelinated fibers, they are called as corpus callosum, and cerebrum is the largest and the most complex part, divided longitudinally into two halves, that is cerebral hemispheres, left and right. Now here we continue with the topic, that is cerebrum. Cerebrum, the outer cover of the cerebral hemisphere is called cerebral cortex. Okay, the outer covering of the cerebral hemisphere is called as cerebral cortex, which is referred to as the grey matter. It is called as grey matter because of its greyish appearance. As neurons, cell bodies are concentrated here. As you know about the diagram of the neuron, nerve cell. When I am drawing just a small diagram, just have a look over here. This is the diagram of a neuron. Here you can see that this is the structure of the nerve cell. So this is the fibrous structure is called as dendrites. Then dendrites join to the dendron. This is the cell body containing the nucleus, and this is the complete axon with cells called as Schwann cells and has a covering of myelin sheath. There is a covering of myelin sheath. Okay, and at last these are the nerve endings. So now when we are talking about the cerebral cortex, the outer cover of the cerebral hemisphere, this cerebral cortex, it is called as the grey matter because only the cell body region is located. This region is located in the grey matter, and this region of the nerve cell provides greyish appearance. That's why it is called as the grey matter. So now the cerebral cortex is highly folded. The upward fold, gyri, is alternate with the downward fold called sulci. So now what will happen? These cerebral cortex, there are too many folds present in the cerebral cortex. So here these folds are in this way. Upward fold and the downward fold. Upward fold is called as gyri, G-Y-R-I, and this downward fold is called as sulci, S-U-L-C-I. Here you can see cerebral cortex highly folded. Upward fold is gyri, alternate with downward fold sulci. Now beneath the grey matter, below the grey matter, there are millions of neurons present in the medulla of the brain. That means in the medulla region, millions of neurons are present which constitute the inner part of the cerebral hemisphere. And large concentration of the medullated nerve fibers, because in the center part many millions of neurons are present. So here in the medulla, nerve fibers are present due to the large concentration. This gives this tissue an opaque white appearance, and due to this white appearance, it is called as the white matter. So we have the two parts of the brain. One is the grey matter and the other is the white matter. The cortex part is called as the grey matter due to the presence of cell body, and the medulla region is called as the white matter. Now we'll continue with this. Now here you can see further we are going to discuss about the forebrain. Each cerebral hemisphere is divided into 4 lobes, means the hemisphere, if we talk about the left hemisphere or right hemisphere, each hemisphere is divided into 4 lobes. The first one is the frontal, second is parietal, third is temporal, and fourth is occipital. So these 4 lobes are present in each of the cerebral hemispheres. Then we talk about the next, that each cerebral hemisphere, there are 3 types of functional areas. Means each cerebral hemisphere consists of 3 different types of functional areas. The first one is the sensory area, second is the motor area, and third is the association area. Now first we talk about the sensory area. Sensory area, as the name itself indicates, that is responsible for, or it is connected with the sense organs. It is related with the sense organs. Okay, so that means sensory area is the area which receives impulses from the receptors, and these receptors are the sense organs. Then is the motor area. That means already we know that the sensory nerves, they carry impulses to the brain or to the central nervous system, and then the motor nerve bring the message back. Okay, so second is the motor area. That means it is meant for transmitting the impulses to the effector part where the action is to be taken. Next, the third one is the association area, where association is done, interaction is done. So large regions, these are large area, neither clearly sensory nor motor. They interpret the input, that means whatever the message or impulse enters or is brought to it, that is interpreted by the association area. Store the input, means the information is stored, and initiate a response. Then response is initiated or message is sent back in light of similar past experience. So whatever, if something has happened in the past, that memory is stored, and if something is similar to that which has happened in the present, so it interprets that, store the information, and then gives the output. So for this we know about the examples: memory, learning, reasoning. That means association area is meant for memory, means what we are learning, that is stored. Okay, and then it is kept. And when in future if someone asked about anything which is stored in our brain, or which we have undergone or which we know, then we are able to give the answer. Okay, so this thing happens with us during the any time, means when we are learning something. So when we are learning that content or any content or any topic, it remains or it is stored in our mind, and if someone asks anything from that, then we can easily give the answer. That means we are responding. Okay, so here this about the 3 areas present in the each cerebral hemisphere. Now see here, we are having the part of a forebrain, that is named as diencephalon. It is a part of the forebrain, and it is present on the posterior ventral side of the forebrain. The main parts of diencephalon are epithalamus, thalamus, and hypothalamus. Now so here, what is epithalamus? Epithalamus is what? It is a thin membrane. Okay, it is a thin membrane of non-nervous tissue. That means non-nervous tissue means neurons are not present in this region. It is a thin membrane where the tissue is there but nerves are not present, neurons are absent. And it forms the posterior part of the diencephalon. Okay, epithalamus is what? It is a thin membrane of non-nervous tissue found on the posterior part of the diencephalon. Second region is the thalamus. Thalamus, it wraps cerebrum. Okay, it covers the cerebrum and is the major coordinating center for sensory and motor signals. Means it receives the messages from the sense organs and it transmits the messages to the effector part through the motor nerves. Next, and the third part is the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is known to you as you have studied this word in class 10, chapter 7, control and coordination. Okay, it is controlling the pituitary gland for secretion of the hormones. So in that you have studied. Now just have a look over here that hypothalamus is a part of diencephalon and that is a part of forebrain. Okay, so this hypothalamus, it lies at the base base of thalamus and below the thalamus, and it contains centers for temperature, that is the body temperature, urge for eating and drinking, that means when we get thirsty or when we get hungry, so that is the urge for eating and drinking. It also contains group of neurosecretory cells which secrete hormones, because it contains the group of cells called as neurosecretory cells, and these cells are responsible for secreting hormones, and these hormones, you know that these are the chemicals which are responsible for chemical coordination in our body. So this is the part of forebrain diencephalon. Diencephalon consists of three parts: epithalamus, thalamus and hypothalamus. So now with this topic we have completed with the forebrain. Now in the next class, in the next lecture, we will discuss about the midbrain.